Previously in X-Men, the Morlocks, a vast community of outcast mutants living beneath the streets of New York City, have been massacred by a kill squad known as the Marauders. The violence and the death has shaken the X-Men to their core. Wolverine had his first encounter with Sabertooth, a beastly killer with a shared past. Although Logan cut their bout short in favor of rescuing the Morlock healer, perhaps that was not the last word from Sabertooth. Oh, I am Jason Lapidus.
I am Chris Sanagan.
And we are Group of Seven Comics. Welcome to episode 142 of our ongoing Tuesday night live stream read-through of the X-Men comics that became classic, as we read Uncanny X-Men issue 213 by Chris Claremont, guest artist Alan Davis, guest inker Paul Neary, cover date of January 1987. Chris, how are you?
Doing okay. Little congested, but otherwise doing okay. You know, 'tis the season for that. So hey,
Totally.
What can you do?
Let's say shouts to Michael in the chat. Hey, Michael, how you doing? Gary Shipman, how are you? Hope you're doing well. And Richard Reyes, mutant and proud. Hello, Jason. Hello, Chris. Hope you're both doing well. We are, all things considered. I wouldn't be surprised if some of our American friends are otherwise occupied tonight and not as active in the chat. Obviously with the election going on. But I also think, what a better way to distract yourself from the thing that you can't control than reading or listening to a read-through of X-Men comics that are as classic as this old butte. It's a good way to spend the evening as far as I'm concerned. So I'm glad we get to do this tonight. That way we don't have to worry about other things that are out of our control, sir. You know what I mean?
In New York City.
I knew someone was going to do that. Glad it was you and not me, considering I've never watched that show. So there you go. Jason Jose, hey, how are you? Hope you're well. When I think of X-Men comics, by the way, from this time period, this is maybe a quintessential, like this is an archetypal one for me. This is definitely on my mind on a regular basis. And I'm so glad, Chris, you have no idea. I'm so glad that we get to read something that Alan Davis drew. And I've never understood why he wasn't like way more famous amongst my artist friends as a kid and as a teenager. I can't stop enjoying everything that I see him draw. So I don't know if you found this issue to be good looking. I thought it was lavishly drawn, like beautifully, but we'll go through those pages together and
I did.
Point out. Oh yeah, you like him?
Beautiful.
He's so good, dude. I think maybe he might suffer from not having a property that is like a hit property that's his book. Like this is one of the areas that all of these guys fall into, where they're professional illustrators that work on a job by job basis, and they try to create their own book here or there, but it isn't huge because they're really great drawers and maybe not great at coming up with good business ideas for a story that will take hold within a mass readership. He's not part of Image. He doesn't have that signature character outside of some things that kind of are his that we'll get to. But man, he put his stamp on me early as a kid, and I loved everything he drew. Have you ever read DC's The Nail?
No.
It's a weird what if or Elseworld, essentially the same thing. It's the premise of it is Alan Davis writes and draws the DC universe as if there was a nail in the tire of the Kent's truck the day that they would have driven along and seen the meteor with who knows what it would have been. The rocket that's carrying infant Kal-El from Krypton. So they never go out to the field or the roadside to pick him up. And how does the DC sort of superhero pantheon unfold without Superman as kind of an anchor character?
Okay.
And just getting to see Alan Davis go through all the DC kind of characters and do his take, it's like, oh yeah, so
Cool.
good. He's just so good. Anyway, they're just like sharing that.
Well, this was the first time for me, obviously reading this issue, but at the same time, I don't really have much of the history of Alan Davis, known history anyway. I mean, if I read one of his books, maybe.
So we can do that now if you want a tiny bit. I got some insight. We were talking about last week about Psylocke coming into the book, and it was a weird roundabout thing. I'm going to give you a brief history, given that this channel, the spirit of it is to share stories and to look at the comics kind of in real time from the point of view of the reader, with as little inside baseball as to why things happened the way they did, but just take that reader, the impact that a reader would have. That's sort of the lane we're going down with, a couple of hypotheses here and there. But a little bit of background might help with just understanding why it is the way it is, a tiny bit. So I mentioned last week that there was this thing called Marvel UK. As Marvel realizes that they, can publish in other parts of the world, and they have readership in other parts of the world, they decided to take publishing in their own hands in the UK, not to contract it out to a secondary party, but to open an office. And it's the early mid 70s, 73, 74, and they have a young guy on staff who is London born, American, super keen to do anything at Marvel, which is why he gets on X-Men as like a protege to Len Wein. We're talking about Chris Claremont. So the year before that, before he comes on X-Men, he heads up some initiatives to create an original character for Marvel UK. Because again, he's like an Anglophile, a London born, like I said. So he works with, Jack Kirby disciple, a guy named Herb Trimpe. Have you ever heard of Herb Trimpe?
I have, yeah.
And the two of them come up with Captain Britain. And he's going to be their original flagship character for this Marvel UK thing, so that they can have issues that have, their own Captain America kind of character.
Yeah.
And they can have comics that have maybe like a backup will have Spidey, or backup will have Cap, but they can have a main character like this guy. So Herb Trimpe comes up with the original drawings of him. The heraldic lion is something that they wanted to put in play. They wanted to connect him to Merlin. He's like chosen by Merlin to wield power to be the protector of the UK.
What's in his hand?
What's in his hand is like a Kirby-esque power rod.
A power rod. Okay.
I just called it that. I mean, it could be the staff of Merlin's beard. It doesn't really matter, right? Like, if you want me to find a name, we can. Not relevant to this conversation. So Claremont starts this character off with Herb Trimpe, and eventually when Claremont is even writing Marvel Team Up, of course, the ones like, the first appearance of Arcade, it's actually Captain Britain who's the Team Up character for Spidey. Captain Britain is staying in New York. He rooms with Peter Parker at university, and that's how the Team Up happens. It's all good and fun. Either way, starts off fun. Claremont leaves. Eventually, the stories start to peter off and lose momentum, and they hire Alan Davis, and he reworks the costume, thinking that this one wasn't really going to work very well. He starts drawing him like that big Captain Britain that I grew up knowing, and then they hire on in the UK Alan Moore as the writer, and Alan Moore and Alan Davis do a run where it's like reality altering, like reality jumping adventures for all these characters. They flesh out the supporting cast and all that kind of stuff. Claremont does create Betsy Braddock. She's, his sister. She's a model. She's blonde, and that's kind of where he leaves her. They take her another direction when Alan Moore is on the title. She gets her hair dyed purple, and like Alan Moore did with other characters, the series got dark and a little more violent, to the point where Betsy has the role of Captain Britain for a bit,
Hmm.
and she has her eyes taken out in combat. She loses her eyes.
Wow.
So now, okay, so Claremont has these two characters as his babies overseas, while he's now the superstar writer, obviously on X-Men. And we've seen time and time again where Claremont takes characters that he's worked on in the past and folds them into the X-verse. For example, Misty Knight. For example, Sharon Carter, no, that's not her name, sorry. Carol Danvers, right? Brings her into the fold, right? She's become a peripheral character, like she's hanging around the X-Mansion all the time. So he regularly like finds these characters that he's part of, and he makes them part of the X-Men supporting cast. And now that the series is kind of rejuvenated and had some legs in the UK, Claremont and Alan Davis were starting to talk about what to do moving forward, and they had some ideas. So here comes Captain Britain and Betsy Braddock. And so the Long Shot series, Mojo gets introduced, and Nocenti, also editor, of course, on X-Men. And they use that as like a back way in. So Mojo kidnaps Betsy Braddock in the pages of the New Mutants Annual 2. Drawn by Alan Davis, written by Chris Claremont. It's again, reality hopping, reality bending, whimsical and dark tale where the New Mutants all get taken and transformed by Mojo, as well as some characters from Nocenti's Long Shot run. There's a street gang called the Fat Boys. This is all real.
And
there's a street
you know what they end up being in, right?
Yes. The video by Weird Al? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, obviously. Shh. No. They end up they're still a street gang in her later series. When she's writing she's writing Daredevil.
That's right.
The Fat Boys are still like Daredevil's street gang crew.
Yes, kids on the skateboards.
Yeah, kids on the skateboards.
So I'm going to show that.
Trouble. Yeah.
So here we have, the opening pages of that annual, and, Alan Davis drawing whatever. Okay, so Betsy is skiing. She's blind, by the way, and nobody knows she's blind. She uses her telepathic powers to sort of see, I think, through other people's eyes, so she can compensate. But she gets transported into the Mojoverse, and like Alan Davis just flexing on this. It's just insane. If you told me this was a Frank Quietly drawing, a quick glance, I wouldn't be surprised. So maybe there's some kind of British vibe to it. I have no idea. They're kind of coming from a similar artistic influence place. And, these are not pages that are meant to go together. These are pages I just pulled out of that book just to show. And there's the Captain Britain we all know and love. Like, he is a tank of a man.
Mm-hmm.
I love that costume. I'm so glad they made a Marvel Legends of that figure. And then in the middle of the second page there, it's page 22 actually. The Fat Boys are also transformed by Mojo and the Mojoverse into these weird characters. And Cypher is kind of the only one who's trying to figure out how to save everybody, as everyone gets their mind kind of messed and get brought in. So the character in the middle there, she says, courtesy of Jubilee, whose every move is a celebration. So Chris Claremont and Alan Davis create a character called Jubilee, who has fireworks powers, and whose every move is a celebration. And this doesn't go any further than this annual, but in a few years, Chris Claremont and Mark Silvestri, everyone thinks it's Jim Lee, but Silvestri actually co-creates her first. They create Jubilee, like Jubilation Lee is her name. And she says, like, whose every move is a celebration. This is like an early iteration that echoes eventually down to people's beloved Jubilee from X-Men animated series and everything else. So it's kind of fun to see. Hey, Chuck, hope you're doing well. He just joined us in the chat. And here are your Fat Boys. I saw this. This is nightmare fuel. This is Ramita, and I'm assuming it's Al Williamson, but if you told me it was Klaus Janson, I'd believe you on inks. But boy on the far left, yeah, okay. Boy in the middle, yeah, okay, cool. Boy on the far right, what happened to that guy's head? It looks like a little kid with an adult's head.
Yes,
It's
old man head.
So creepy. So yeah, these are the Fat Boys, the skater gang in Hell's Kitchen, created by Ann Nocenti and of course Arthur Adams, and later used again by Ann Nocenti on her run of Daredevil. And I just had to throw that in there for conversation.
The one on the left is called Cue Ball.
Right, and then there's one called Darla.
That's right. Darla is the fourth one and is the girl and is often not seen skateboarding.
Darla is Jubilee.
Okay.
That's her. And there's a kid called Alfie, which is Alfalfa. Like Alfalfa and Darla. From the Little Rascals, right? So like, it's that easy a reference to get if you are, I guess, a kid from when we were kids. If you haven't ever heard of the Little Rascals, people, that's okay. Maybe you didn't miss anything, but it was sort of a staple of early morning TV when I was growing up. But of course, those are little serials of some street kids from like the Depression.
Owned by the studio.
And Mo Sislak is one of them, right? On the Simpsons.
That's right.
One of the Little Rascals. Anyway, long way of saying these characters were basically destined to get back to Chris Claremont in some way. Wow. So if Alan Davis is coming over to do a couple issues, he's doing the New Mutants Annual 2, he's doing Uncanny X-Men 213. He's also going to be drawing, or he does draw, which we're going to read, I think, next week or the week after, Uncanny X-Men Annual 10.
Oh, okay.
No, shoot. He does Annual 11. Annual 10 is Arthur Adams. Spoilers. We're going to read an amazing book, kind of.
I think I have that
but
one.
We're going to see some more Alan Davis down the road, and then eventually, famously, he goes on to illustrate Excalibur with Chris Claremont in writing. And those first 10, 11 issues, I guess do I spoil? I guess I can. With Excalibur, they are like three characters that weren't being used in X-Men anymore.
Yeah.
And then Captain Britain and Megan, his lover.
Yes.
And that
his
becomes like
elf.
That becomes like the three characters in X-Men don't know where the X-Men are. So they want to carry on sort of the dream, and they decide to maybe get some physical distance from America and start fresh in the UK, but still pursue the dream of Xavier. All right, that's all cool. Now, let's get on to the real thing, which is, dude.
I know.
I mean, right? Whoops, sorry.
Maybe one of the best covers we've had the pleasure of showcasing. It's beautiful. Yeah,
and Sabertooth goes from being like a cool villain to, now it's the coolest villain Wolverine could ever possibly fight.
Yeah.
And Wolverine looks amazing.
Well, and I love that little tear of the eye, so you see his actual eye. It's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's when I open this file, a little PDF, I'm like, whoa, what a cover.
Yeah, it sings. For those who are watching who don't know this, Chris is reading all of these comics as scanned versions that are in PDF form. So not the digital comic that, let's say, Marvel Unlimited offers, but a scan of the original printed comic. And that's what we show you. So Chris is reading it that way, whereas I usually will read it either in the original comic as it was printed back in the 80s, or I'll be reading it with X-Men Essentials. But this week I'm reading the original one from childhood that is in surprisingly great condition until I read it today.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Yeah. All right, buddy. I think, you can see on the map, we are on the last issue as far as X-Men are concerned. And I know there was a follow-up issue in Daredevil that you people have mentioned, but it's not on this map. And in Thor, I should tell you, Thor saved Angel, and Thor set a huge lightning storm through the tunnels, which is what they're all like dodging to get out before this plasma burst comes. It's not the Marauders, it's not Cyclops, it's Thor's lightning, like just cleansing those tunnels.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. All right, should we do this?
Yes.
Cool. Yeah.
It is cool. Look at that. How cool that is.
So good.
So cool.
There is a lot of Betsy Braddock in this issue.
Mm-hmm. Yes, there is.
And everyone out there, I appreciate your patience and support. If you ever wondered about her name, Psylocke, it is a play on the idea that Psyche, like lock and key, Psyche, so Psylocke. And okay, cool, whatever.
But she has her vision back, or
well, she got cybernetic eyes in Mojo World.
Ooh.
Yes, there you go.
Okay,
you cool with that?
Always.
It might take me a moment to find her voice. I did some rehearsing, and it was going okay by myself, but with an audience, it's always a little different.
Yeah.
Also, notice her eyes are purple.
What?
And her eyes match her hair, which is a bit of a unique characteristic. Stan Lee presents Psylocke, starring the Uncanny X-Men. Chris Claremont writer, Alan Davis guest penciler, Paul Neary guest inker, Tom Orzechowski letter, Glynis Oliver colorist, Ann Nocenti editor, and Jim Shooter editor-in-chief. Beautiful. I am a stranger here. My voice will continue to get higher as I go until I find a spot that differentiates her between her and Storm.
As it should.
Yes. Like all admitted to Professor Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, I am a mutant, though I fear no longer a youngster. I am a telepath, born with the power to project thoughts and perceive those of others. This device, Cerebro, amplifies that ability to a fantastic degree. In the past, it was used to seek out mutants who'd newly manifested their talents, so they could be invited to join the school and here be taught to safely use their powers. A noble purpose that may well be done. My Psy self seeks out Rogue, patrolling the school's estate, extending 3 miles along Breakstone Lane and a mile inland to Grey Malkin Lane. Even amplified by Cerebro, I cannot read her thoughts. She is a wild, eclectic mix of human and alien, her natural psyche jumbled together with one accidentally stolen from Carol Danvers.
Psylocke?
Forgive me, I didn't mean to startle you. Anything to report?
No, the place is quiet, almost too quiet.
You need some sleep.
No less than you, Miss Braddock, and you got cracked ribs to boot. Don't fret none, Betsy. I'm fine. And more importantly, this is the X-Men's home turf. Protecting it is the X-Men's responsibility.
And since I am not part of the team, not mine, my help will be tolerated, but only to a point. Hoping to spare my feelings, Rogue did not say so aloud. She didn't have to. I must prove my worth to them. But how? I love architectural cross-sections and
it's cool.
Like mapping things in comics. It's an underused technique that can be so effective just to help orient and obviously give scope to things. Also, Alan Davis is the creator of the butterfly effect for Psylocke.
Okay.
That's his another one of his contributions to the character.
It's like a calling card for her, huh?
It is, and it lasts always, right? It's sort of stayed true with her. Fun to see Rogue's costume, change as she's now shifted, art shifted away from John Romita Jr. She now has this like green unitard and the punk like belt strappy stuff and a loose tank top, but it seems just a little more consistent and solid under Alan Davis's hand. And then like the boots, Yeah, this is a version of the character that a lot of people, of course, want an action figure of. And I am definitely one of them. Buried 30 meters below the mansion is its infirmary, full to bursting with the pitifully few survivors. That was terrible. Survivors of the Marauders' massacre. Without warning, a band of cutthroat murderers appeared in the Morlock tunnels beneath Manhattan Island and began killing every mutant in sight. The X-Men tried to stop them and paid a fearful price. Nightcrawler is so terribly wounded, so deep in coma, that I cannot perceive even a fucker of awareness. Oh, it says flicker? I believe it said fucker. No, can you see that, by
It's
the
an
way?
English slang thing.
It's so funny how like that word just like flicker does not read if it's a little blurry.
Yeah,
That's
totally.
terrible. And I'm very sad about Nightcrawler.
Mm-hmm.
And while Colossus is alert, his thoughts, like bright sunlight on a field of glowing golden grain, his body is frozen in its armored form, totally paralyzed. I'm just stopping to check the comments because I was swearing, making sure. Win or lose, how are you? Alan Davis art is fire. Chuck says, Jason, just pretend we're not here. I'm Jason Jose says, think Cersei Lannister. Yeah, I think about her all the time, but it's harder to do. I'm working on it. I'm working. It's good times. I should go. Yeah, Cersei. I mean, she's an amazing actress. I can't remember what her name is in this moment, but yeah, that's a great example to come up with for Psylocke. Kitty Pryde, Shadowcat, is trapped in her phasing state, little more than a living ghost, unable to physically touch or be touched. Imagine a mountain stream cascading merrily along. That is the picture of her mind, lively and so full of life. Her discorporation is progressive. Eventually, it will reach the state where she will cease to exist. Nothing tried thus far has even slowed the process down. She knows, yet she does not despair.
You know, it's when I was reading this and reading this intro here, you get Nightcrawler down, Colossus down, Kitty down. Yeah, I mean, you know, there's obviously things that happen in the next few issues, and people, you know, as you mentioned, even with the advent of Excalibur and the three members of that team, but it really is like can be easily seen as a culmination of like, well, you know, like this team's now done, you know,
Right.
to a degree, right? Like, I mean, it could go in so many directions. That could have been one of them, where it's like, yeah, Nightcrawler's on death's door, Colossus is trapped, Kitty's phasing into oblivion, Rachel's gone into, you know, something else. You know, Scott left. Like, it's really like, oh, here's your opportunity to really reboot the team.
Yeah, and I think that was one of Claremont's dreams all along was to have turnover, but maybe something more gradual. Um,
But I
Three
like
of the
that.
more
Yeah.
innocent characters too, with Nightcrawler and Colossus and their sweeter sides, and then you know Kitty just being the youngest. Maybe I wonder if that 1986 thing where you know Dark Knight Returns and Watchmen are out, and there's this huge reaction. Maybe Claremont is thinking about getting darker or getting grittier, and you know bringing on the not endearing sides of mainstream comics in that moment. Like X-Men is not supposed to be those things. X-Men is X-Men.
Yeah.
But I wonder if he was sort of cleaning house a little bit to leave you with Storm and Wolverine,
Right.
you know, and Rogue, who can all handle a different degree of the scum of the world.
And I like the idea too of if you decided to turn it over at this point, like heavily turn it over at this point, it lends their sacrifice during the Mutant Massacre just that much more kind of weight, right? Because such an important moment.
Agreed.
and such a the stakes so high and the cost so high that it would require to match that team members don't make it out.
Yeah. Lena Headey is the actress who plays Cersei Lannister in Game of Thrones. Hey there, Exy Boys, says David Cutler. Where Luz is asking, was there an intentional color error with Nightcrawler on this page? And Chuck and I are seeing it eye to eye, as well as probably David, is that like he's so ill that, when a person gets pale, they lose their saturation, so his blue indigo skin color is a paler gray at the moment because he is in such a bad physical state. So that's how I'm reading it too. That it's just a coloring choice to show he's unwell.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have a different take, nothing less valid, of course, right? It all works. Now, this is Psylocke still speaking, or internal monologuing in reference to Kitty. Half my age, yet her courage shames me. I weep for her, as my Psy self soars through the mansion to the residential wing inhabited by the school's novice class, the New Mutants. They are gone. Disobeying orders, they entered the Morlock tunnels. No one knows why. Then, those same tunnels were swept by a tremendous wave of high-energy plasma. That's Thor.
Okay.
And she's got her Leela poster and 2001.
Seems so
or
far.
whoever's room that is. There's also a Leela record. Leela Cheney record on the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
If the mutants were in its path, when the wave struck, they are surely dead. I've been searching for them with Cerebro. I will keep on until I find them, or until their deaths are proven beyond all doubt. My last stop is Cypher's room. Douglas Ramsey. He risked his soul to save me and his teammates from the clutches of an other-dimensional slave master, Mojo. New Mutants Annual 2. I'm going to have to pick that one up. He loves me more deeply and truly than he knows. How do I feel?
Wait a minute.
Yep. Okay, you're doing some math.
Wait a minute. Doug Ramsey in that picture with Betsy Braddock in that, looks like he's like the little kid in her arms, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she looks to be not even his babysitter. Looks to be older than that.
Well, Kitty is half her age.
Okay. So is it okay? So maybe it's an English thing.
I don't think it's an English thing. I think it's a Claremont thing. Claremont has a good history of being flexible when it comes to social norms around romantic entanglements.
Yeah.
Then again, she doesn't say that she's attracted to him. She just says, and how do I feel? And it might be that, and looks like her eyes have tears in them.
Mm-hmm.
She's obviously, we know that she's a telepath and knows his thoughts, and maybe seeing just the pure beauty of his emotions. It's just a compelling thing.
The pure beauty of his 60-year-old boy emotions for her. Pure beauty.
Yes.
Just that's all it is. She sees all of it, and she's.
Oh man, yeah. Chris is a little under the weather, everyone. So if he dips out to do some coughing, we're gonna, of course, make fun and criticize, as we are prone to doing. Let's just say that she's, because she is a telepath, she thinks beyond age. I don't know. Okay, it's creepy. We agree. Done. Moving on. And I wish this was now the narrator, the traditional narrator. I don't believe that there's one way to tell her the other, but I'll still read it as Betsy just for everyone out there. I love this New York scene. I love the color. It is so simple and so gorgeous. It really works. And then this tunnel, it looks great. It looks so simple again, just having those curved pipelines and like wires kind of running.
Reminds me of those burn interior drawings,
Yes. It reminds me of the shortcomings of other people who were working on this title as well, and how Alan Davis is just such a skilled craftsman. That Wolverine pose, like the idea of stealthy tracker Wolverine is one of my absolute favorite versions of him. And then like how regal this Storm is, that body language.
Totally.
Yeah, he's just a phenomenal figure drawer. Actually, everything about his drawing is really good. To me, I adore him. 40 miles south of Xavier's school is Manhattan Island, heart of the city of New York, and a mile beneath its streets. Hey, she switched from metric to imperial. Come on now.
Hey,
a kilometer beneath its streets are the tunnels where once the Morlocks dwelled. 2 X-Men, Storm and Wolverine, plus Magneto, the school's new headmaster, and Callisto, leader of the Morlocks, are there now. We're wasting our time, Storm. Plasma wave swept through year 2. Might as well accept. It involved the entire network. Fire swept everything clean. I can't find even a trace of the scent, of anyone's scent.
Everything's flammable was consumed. The tunnels are now as they must have been before the Morlocks ever arrived. Nothing left? No bodies, no clothes, no keepsakes? Our existence has been wiped from the face of the stinking world. Who did this, Storm? What did this?
Lightning.
What are you saying? When you and I fought upstate, there was lightning flashing all over the place. Crazy like I've never seen before.
I remember.
Was that your doing? But how can that be?
Callisto cries.
You don't possess your powers anymore. You no longer control the weather.
That is what I believed, Storm replies softly, the anguish in her voice matching Callisto's. Now I am no longer certain.
Are you saying you're responsible for this?
I do not know. He's great at this, by the way, like the 2-panel. We're going to see it again in a bit, where it's 2-panel side by side with like cartooning happening, where there's storytelling happening in the movement between the 2 panels. Callisto's body language and Storm stoically standing there. And it's very possible that like one drawing is a photostat of the other.
Right.
That, they would literally go and do a copy of it and then paste it on. If I had to guess from the 2, it looks like the one on the right is the original. Sorry, the one on the left is the original one on the left, and the right is the photostat. Then again, you could have just light boarded a third drawing, and like the first of 3, and light boarded it twice. Who knows?
And
you'd have to ask him.
New outfit, too.
What's that?
Callisto has like a new outfit.
It's just, and this one is 90% less androgynous.
Yeah, it's very much so.
Won't be able to follow any marauder trails from here. Same goes for the New Mutants. Gotta figure, if they'd survived, they'd have found some way to contact us.
No. Believe the worst of you wish, Wolverine. I choose otherwise. Somewhere, somehow, I am certain the New Mutants still live. As headmaster, it is my responsibility to protect them. The Hellfire Club has invited me to join their ruling body, the Lords Cardinal, as White King. Perhaps I should accept.
In alliance with the X-Men's deadliest foes? Impossible!
Not so long ago, Storm, I was the X-Men's deadliest foe. Yet look at me now. Face facts, Wind Rider. The X-Men need help. You can't go on alone. especially against the Marauders. If I can stomach joining up with you, you can with Hellfire.
I have seen and heard enough. I manifest my Psy self, making my presence known. My news does little to improve their mood. I have a suggestion. I could Psy scan the entire country, possibly the hemisphere, for any sign of either the New Mutants or the Marauders. With Cerebro amplifying my own natural telepathic talent, I could penetrate virtually any psychic shielding.
At considerable risk to yourself, young lady. I know you mean well, Psylocke, and such courage and generosity do you proud. But your plan is far too dangerous.
We will take your proposal under advisement, Elizabeth. In the meantime, your primary task is to help Rogue maintain security at the mansion. I can do both. I want to help, Storm. Then, Psylocke, do as I say. I love it that her powers illuminate.
Mm-hmm.
And as they fizzle out, like the room gets dark. That's super cool.
Again, for me, this is the first time encountering this in the butterfly piece, and I love it. It's I think it's such a cool. I like it much better than a floating head, and like an Xavier floating head, X-Men, and I like it much better than just like the telepathic bolts that like Jean or Rachel would do. The butterflies are really kind of beautiful. I don't know. I think it works really well.
It does. It also feels like her eyes are part of the design on the wings.
Yeah.
The other part of it is it gives her an icon or like a symbol that she's connected to. It kind of reminds me a little bit. It's a little bit fairy-like.
Yeah.
And if it places her version of character in a more timeless, like immortal sort of version of storytelling. Where like her symbol can live on, she now has a symbol for a flag, a motif for a costume. Having, I'm looking for a word, a totem.
Sure.
She has an animal totem, and when you can boil down something about a character into that totem, whether it's the bat or the spider, etc., etc., it's a very powerful storytelling tool, and like the symbolism of it can be incredibly effective. And the X-Men don't have that as a thing, generally speaking.
Right.
But when they do something totemic, especially when you incorporate it into the powers and the storytelling like this, it's a really cool motif. It works really well.
I agree, and it comes off as a bit magical and whimsical, which we don't get a lot of in this series, especially not recently.
Sure.
The events have been pretty heavy. So
that ties into Claremont's UK stuff,
right?
Because there is magic in the relationship between Captain Britain and his power set, and therefore Betsy as well. Like there's that tie to Arthurian mythology, so it really works. It brings it all together, buddy.
I like it. I dig it.
We could use her power, Roro. She means well, Logan, but she's too unknown, untested. She is too unknown, untested a quantity. These days, we cannot afford any mistakes. I want no more bodies on my conscience. Better Elizabeth remain on the sidelines, where she will be safe. Sure she will.
Whoa.
Have they not read an X-Men comic before? Come on.
Seriously.
My language would make a Royal Marine blush. My thoughts are worse. All they see in me, all they acknowledge is my shell. The sweet, innocent, genteel Princess de Facade. How do I show them the tiger within?
Tiger.
Well, she's not that kind of British, but yeah.
The tiger.
As long as she doesn't talk about the tiger and Douglas Ramsey, I think we're okay. What's that? Mind Flash. a stranger entering the school grounds. A psi scan should fix his location and identity and determine whether or not he's the... Ah! The way her head is thrown back.
Yeah.
Like that arch of the back, again, amazing combination of the lettering and the drawing too.
Totally.
Great 2 panels.
And I really like her color too, like the purple. I think it just works well. Like if we're talking about characters who have, Rogue is green, you know what I mean, and Nightcrawler is blue, and that kind of stuff. But I really like it as just as a color choice. Me too.
Also, drawing bodies on the ground is not an easy thing to do, and he makes it look incredibly easy.
Mm-hmm.
He makes everything look effortless when you look at his pages. Really good. Now this is going to be the straight up narrator, and I don't remember. I know you're reading Alison Blair. Are you also reading Maliche?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. That would be cool. That's how you pronounce it, right? Maliche.
Yeah, Maliche. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Interlude. Los Angeles. Congrats to the Dodgers, by the way. It's wildest street on the wildest night of the week. A time and place where anything goes. Alison Blair could care less. She walks alone. As she has for months. No one she passes looks twice at her. That's what she wants.
Bull. You hate it. My reflection. Malice. Why so surprised, honey? I'm part of you. You'll never be rid of me. You're a star dazzler. Always were, always will be. No, you're this. It's wrong. To be all you can be? Where's the harm? Do you really believe it's wrong to look like this instead of this? Quit thinking of others, silly girl. Live for yourself. That's what's important. Yes, I'm through hiding, settling for second place, playing the scared little mouse. I am a star. I'm Dazzler, and it's time the world knew it.
At the Stylorama.
That's right.
Remember shopping at the Stylorama?
Yeah, I would go to 2 places, the Byway and the Stylorama. Happen to be beside each other.
By the way, speaking of Byway, I remember going to Byway as a very, very little kid.
Sure.
And that is where I picked up some of my absolute first action figures.
Okay.
Like Batman, Robin, Wonder Woman, and other Amigo pocket heroes in the late 1970s. So what I would do to go back there and pick up a cart full of toys now.
There you go.
Anyway. The X-Mansion.
Mystique. If you could see your foster daughter now, bet you'd hardly recognize her. A gal who used to think only of herself, live for herself. Hanging in with the X-Men to the bitter end. Kind of a nice feeling, caring about others. What? Bang, bang, doll.
Sorry, Chris. It says baby doll.
Oh, sorry. Bang, baby doll. You dead.
That is that's an amazing 4 panels, by the way.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Actually, I'm gonna say the whole 6
7
panels.
Sure. Let's see.
The first one, we talk about like what goes into a good page. So putting the setting there and showing the character in the setting. Just even her pose as she's kicking stones down that road.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Hands behind her back, kicking stones, chewing on a piece of grass. Like, just such good thinking about that. Might not have been in the script. That could be him doing that. Just making her do something. She's killing time, right?
Yeah.
Bored.
Yeah.
Not paying attention, and that just comes across in those few little lines. He's an amazing cartoonist. Really, really good. And then, like I mentioned before, the 2 panels. So you get one before or one after. Like, yep, he grabs her by that tank top thing.
Yep.
And just swings the crap out of her. I mean, unbelievable. And in this page, he goes from being, again, not just like a sharp claw and teeth user,
Yeah.
but a powerhouse.
Yeah, like tosses her like it's nothing, right? And it's Rogue.
Yeah.
Like it's not, If he did this to Nightcrawler, he'd be like, oh wow, okay. You know what I mean? But Rogue, that's a big deal. And look at that last those in the shadow, the last two there.
Yeah.
Just great.
Yeah, it's really effective, especially the last one in the moonlight.
Oh, so good.
My head is white fire, pain beyond pain. It pales beside my anger. Stupid bloody cow. Got careless. Forgot Cerebro amplifying my psi powers. Stranger's mind, hostile, worse than any beasts. Sudden input more than I could stand. The stranger, he's a marauder. Must alert the X-Men.
If you're calling for help, sweetness, forget it.
Sabertooth. He's as deadly as his namesake. Can't let him near me. Will a psychoblast stop him? Aye! My arm! I hurt him, but I'm too weak, too groggy to properly fry his brain. Like every panel, he just delivers awesome anatomy, like great figure drawing, great faces, great movement, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like Sabertooth is quite a terrifying character in this very moment.
Yeah, and again, we've only seen him the one time, and while he was a foil for Wolverine, he doesn't have this kind of presence, and
yeah,
they bulk him up, and it's terrifying.
Yes, he definitely is bigger than he was in Rick Leonardi's art, and bigger than he was in Iron Fist, a couple years earlier. Not nearly as big as Jim Lee will draw him in the animated series, but he's also bigger than the Marvel Legends that they made of this version. But we'll get to that maybe after. I have to run.
You ain't getting away from me, sweets. Not now. Not ever.
Talk is cheap, Sabertooth. Prove it.
My pleasure. Hope you like screaming, babe.
Like, what is this guy gonna do?
Right. Yeah. Well,
is this? Yeah, he is terrifying. But look, Betsy's face.
Yeah.
Giving him that look, like to taunt him. She's manipulating him, and it's great.
It is.
Before I'm through, you're gonna do a lot.
Oh, it's McTaggart.
It is.
Sharon. See a lot of access ways from the mansion to this complex.
But Dr. McTaggart, what about Miss Braddock? Can't we help her?
We two ordinary humans against a powerhouse like that? Imagine what he'll do if he finds these helpless patients. Don't you see, Sharon? She's leading them away from us, paying for our survival with her life.
And right away, like now she's a great character, right? That's what we talked about. Rogue doing the same thing when she joins, how she sacrifices herself. Wolverine does it time and time again. And now Betsy has that opportunity as well in an absolutely harrowing situation. Thought flash from the infirmary. Dr. McTaggart and her nurse, Sharon, are staying out of this. Good for them. Unless I get very lucky, they'll have plenty of opportunities to be heroes.
You're plenty strong for a skirt. Too bad you're out of your league.
Arrogant sod. I'd love to shove those words.
Catch sweets.
Down his bloody throat.
Folding the barbell.
Destroying a barbell or dumbbell.
Yeah.
It does not seem like the Sabertooth we've seen before.
No.
And some readers kind of have suggested that, okay, his power set has been amplified by his benefactor, you know, or augmented in some way. Whatever.
Monsieur Sinestra.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just rolling with it as an interpretation of the character as opposed to trying to find a continuity way to explain it. He had Mountain Dew, okay? He had Mountain Dew.
Woo!
That's all. Ow, ow, ow! Never fails the part of you that's hurt. Is invariably the one you need the most. And starting out with a set of cracked ribs doesn't make matters any easier. Skylight! Aurora's attic. Like that fall, she's asked for tea kettle. I mean, it's great.
Oh, yeah. You're looking awful bad, sweets. I can feel the pain. Hear the busted bones grinding together. Smell the fear. You gonna quit now? Sure hope not. I like prey that fights.
Storm's knife. If only I knew properly how to use it.
That's the spirit.
His psychic defenses, deflecting my side bolts. He's too strong.
My kind of gal. Defiant to the end. Hey,
Yo, Saber.
Before we get to the next page,
Oh,
you know she grabs that knife? He grabs that knife.
Yeah.
Do you think Jim Lee, when he saw that, was like, she's a ninja? He's like he's like, she's got to be a ninja.
Maybe.
Maybe.
We have a little while before we get there, but we'll talk more about it. That's funny. But there is this idea that it's also, if only I knew properly how to use it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's teach her how to use it.
Yeah.
Yo, Saber. How about tackling somebody? Warrior speed.
I was wondering when you'd show, Runt. Oh, I'd love to. Soon as I'm taking care of business with the lady.
His face, and the fact that his nose is like this weird kind of cat nose, like this flattened thing. You just want to punch that face so hard.
Super punchable.
Yeah. Another time, villain. Tonight, Psylocke walks free.
Bad move, babe, making me mad. That guarantees you suffer before you die.
I love just a little drawing of like Betsy in the back. There is, she falls backward and Storm helps her get away. Like he's so good. You want them, bub? You deal with me first.
No problem.
Do you think this is still Betsy narrating, or I would just go narrator, okay? Unless I'm wrong. Sure. It's fine. Sabertooth roars like his namesake. And then both men move in a blur, almost faster than... Oh, it is. Shit. Sabertooth roars like his namesake. And then both men move in a blur, almost faster than my mind can follow. But only one of them draws blood.
Tasty, Runt. As always.
He's eaten him before.
Mm-hmm. You gonna play this straight boy or rabbit like last time?
Make a move. Find out.
So I don't think it's funny. We're talking about all this great art we're seeing. The Wolverine face is a bit of a miss for me on this page, on that fifth.
Sure.
Just doesn't seem quite natural. But anyway, the rest of it's great. But just kind of wanted to point that out.
For sure. Just checking out something on the news. All good.
Okay.
No, I'm interested in all the things. This time, neither tries anything fancy. Their hatred is a palpable presence in the room. They are the personification of violence, the darkest side of man's primal nature brought to life. Quarter will not be asked between them, nor given. Claremont has to throw this in every fight scene he's ever written. That's awesome. He punches him like up out of the skylight. I love it.
So good.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, you're right. This is the no quarter, no ask, not never given.
Yeah.
You know, take a shot.
Cliche.
Have a drink.
Exactly. Wolverine's bones are laced with adamantium, the strongest metal known. But Sabertooth is larger, faster, stronger. His claws are natural, where Wolverine's are man-made. But that makes them no less deadly.
Through both diving boards.
Yeah. Also, like, that reference, by the way those diving boards look, I'm pretty sure Michael Golden drew that in one of those issues where we saw the characters hanging out by the pool. It was like the same, like he might have even found a reference for that or got an assist from an editor. But I like the way that I'm able to tell where they are. You know, like I feel oriented that they've gone through obviously the skylight across the back of the house and into the pool.
Look at that.
And just great.
Look at that first panel where Wolverine has put his claws straight into his thigh. Like, oh my goodness. Like,
yeah.
I love how these two, specifically these two, just go at it. There's not like it's just chaos constantly, and it's berserker on both sides. Like they're just barreling into each other.
And then the next panel, like Sabertooth is favoring that leg with his right hand.
Yeah, right. There you go. Right.
So the whole idea of them even fighting in Deadpool and Wolverine,
right?
It's all from this.
Totally.
Like the idea of trying to get that hate on between them in the movies, it's all from this.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And both men's wounds begin to heal with fantastic speed, the instant they are made.
Callisto has found Rogue Storm. The child is all right. Is Miss Braddock?
I look far worse, Magneto, than I actually am. He thinks my words bravado. If he only knew.
These improvised chains should hold our foe.
No, wait! We know next to nothing about the Marauders. This is a perfect opportunity to learn.
And we shall, once Sabertooth is properly restrained.
His psychic defenses are formidable. Under those conditions, they'll be fully active. I doubt we'll learn a thing. But now, his concentration is focused on his battle with Wolverine. I can slip into his mind without him noticing.
And what of Wolverine? Is your plan worth his unwitting sacrifice?
He can take care of himself, Magneto. He'll have to. Storm, I know what I'm talking about. I can do this. I'm the only one who can. For all our sakes, at least let me try. Wolverine taking like just such a shot to the gut there and gets a piece of Sabertooth on his way, but ugh.
Yeah.
Do it. Calm myself. Seek serenity of the body and mind. All pain will pass. My physicality is but a vessel I leave behind. As these two have so eagerly abandoned their humanity, their rage is matched by a terrible, transcendent joy. They so love what they do. Images as wild as the men themselves cascade through me. Wolverine, much younger, tossed broken and bloody on a snowscape. They have fought before. I see other faces, hear other voices from a much later time, marauders, and a shadow all acknowledge as their master. That's Mr. Sinister. But you see, they don't know. Claremont and Claremont and Alan Davis, they don't know who the character is yet.
Yeah.
He's making it up as he goes along, I'm telling you. But anyway, it is not enough. I must find out how to deal with this master. I must probe deeper. Forgive me, my friend. If you told me that last panel, but the page before, if you told me that last one had some Todd McFarlane in it, I would believe you.
Yeah.
There's something about that Wolverine face. It looks like McFarlane drew that panel. Totally. Anyway. Finally, Wolverine, I have the information we need. There's no more need to fight. We have won. Hear that, sucker? You've been conned. I kept you busy. Psylocke tapped into your teeny tiny mind. And now we're going to put you away permanently.
Smart play, Runt. I'm impressed. But you ain't taking me. And you can bet I'll be back.
Not if I have anything to say about it. You're a history, bub.
Wolf, you loon. Don't you know when to quit?
For too long, the lake surface is still. And then, I sense only Rogue and Wolverine's presence. Sabertooth is gone.
Slain, you mean?
I do not know.
Don't
count on it.
Oh, yeah.
Let me go, girl. We gotta keep looking till we find him.
I love how he goes from, Wolverine saying you've been conned and this has all been a ruse, and now we have the information, and we can kind of back off now because whatever. And Sabretooth's like, you won't get me alive. I'll jump off this cliff, and he immediately is like, I'll kill you, and jumps right. Like he goes from this like restrained, like, haha, we got you, to I'll cut you up. It's just like, oh, Wolverine, so good.
We searched through the night without success, and the morning following... it's Wolverine, yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
We were lucky. If not for Psylocke, there'd have been another massacre here, and it's not over. Marauders will keep coming till they get us. Unless we nail them first. But we can't hit back effectively while we're forced to cover the wounded back here at the mansion. A good point. They might well be safer at Dr. McTaggart's research facility on Muir Island in Scotland.
Sounds fine with me.
Gotta admit, I owe Bets an apology. When the crunch came, she didn't fold. She thought of the X-Men before herself, even though we'd all put her down pretty hard. Handled herself real well, too. Ask me. She's proved herself, and then some. If that's what she wants, she's an X-Man. It's very much what I want, my friend. If there are no objections. Wolverine speaks for all of us, Elizabeth. Welcome to the team. Next, with Maliche towards all. I mean, Malice. So there you go. Psylocke is on the team. This is her first costume as a member of the X-Men.
There you go.
Crazy.
It is. I do like too when Storm's like, Wolverine speaks for all of us, as he always does when someone new joins the team, like Rogue or Kitty. He's given this speech a couple of times. She's an X-Man.
Yes. Well, Claremont's doing the best he can. Not what I intended. Pardon me. Still not what I intended. This one. There we go. Yeah, I think Claremont's not looking at this from the macro. He's writing each issue and not researching back. Like, what did I say when Rogue joined? He's just going with what he thinks. Wolverine is the I'll fight next to you. Totally. If I'll fight next to you, then you're on the team.
I'll kill you. I'll fight next to you.
I do imagine she needed a weapon. Like
Yeah.
we got to arm this woman, and she's not just. We see she's okay with battle. She has that tiger within. So time to get her a weapon of some
Bengal
kind.
tiger. A great big Bengal tiger. Anyway, yeah.
Have you checked the score in the Leaf game, by the way?
Oh yes. I get the updates on the phone. It just comes.
So what was it's over.
It's over.
What's the final score?
4-0 Toronto.
Oh,
Shut out, baby. Goose egg.
awesome.
Yeah, man.
Thank you. I got to watch those highlights. Looking forward to that. I haven't checked the other news yet, but I will. It was, it's at the part where as the time goes across the continent, it goes a certain direction. And then, massive dumps, as he called. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But, man, a night to remember. Wolverine Sabertooth round 2. Shutout against Boston. There you go.
There you go.
I'm rooting for it all. That's very cool. I'm hoping you're going to feel better soon.
I'm sure I will.
Yeah.
It's
any other?
It's one of those things that can't keep. It's not keeping me away from work, unfortunately. You know what I mean? That's
Gotcha.
like, it's kind of like, I got stuff to do, and if I don't, anyway, yeah, I'll have to say. Right.
Hey, the people who are still watching, we're not done yet, by the way. If any of you have a favorite Alan Davis comic other than this one, throw it in the chat. Let me know. I'm curious to hear what other recommendations you have. Whether it is X-Men, I believe it's Annual 11, or like I mentioned, the Nail before. I always enjoyed looking over that one, or maybe it's the Excalibur one shot, which it's been kind of renamed Excalibur Sword of Destiny or whatever they call it. They have a name for it. It was originally just called the Excalibur Special. You don't have a copy of that yet, do you, Chris?
I don't. But I was gonna say, if you have a favorite Alan Davis, throw it in the chat, and if you have a favorite Warwick Davis, put it in the chat.
Another great Davis from Britain. There you go.
There you go.
I got the Excalibur special for you.
Oh, cool.
You're gonna freak out at how beautiful it is. It's prestige format too,
Ooh.
So it's on that like thicker paper, and it's just more lavishly rendered. It's just really, really great. Michael asks, was this before or after a stint on Batman and the Outsiders? I don't know. I want to say that I don't know. I feel terrible for not knowing this one. He also, for Batman fans, Alan Davis draws issues 1 and 2, I believe, of the Batman Year 2, which is obviously after this because we're still in Batman Year 1 time period right now. So there's a Batman Year 2 that is not famous because
first I'm hearing about it, so I'm assuming
it's not a great story. As a young guy, like when I came across it in trade paperback, I freaked out because I loved Year 1, and this was a totally different version. He is classic 80s DC Batman in the Alan Davis work. I want to say that Mike Barr wrote it, but I might not be right just off the top of my head. It is a super cliche story. If I tell it to you now, it feels like a weird blip in his past. Basically, he falls in love with a young woman he meets, and her mother was killed in like violence back in the crime alley kind of days too.
Okay.
And her father is like, oh, the city's gotten real bad. It's all bad. And, there used to be a vigilante way back like 20 years ago. No one's seen him for 20 years. But suddenly now the vigilante returns and Batman has to shut him down. And it looks like Phantasm, but a giant red armor. And he's known as the Reaper. And he has 2 huge sides on both hands and a skull mask and a cloak. Do you remember the armor that Dracula wore in Bram Stoker's Dracula when he's in like the flashback to whatever, when he's in the church in Romania kind of thing?
Yeah.
It looked like that kind of armor with some spikes on it with a cloak. So he's sort of like your angel Buzz Brodsky, your angel of death awaits. So Phantasm feels like an iteration of the Reaper.
Yeah.
And Batman has to fight the Reaper, gets beaten, goes back and then has to defeat the Reaper. There's a whole Joe Chill kind of thing happening, like the who caused Batman to, who killed his parents. In the end, they discover, of course, spoilers, the girl that he's in love with, it's her dad, who is the Reaper, and the whole kerfuffle causes the woman to walk away from Bruce and join the convent.
Wow, you only got two choices: billionaire boyfriend or the convent.
Leslie Tompkins is in it, and then these two throwaway characters that are like new for it and never come back. Although he does come back, but so it's of note for a couple of reasons. One, that Alan Davis draws the first two, and Todd McFarlane draws the second two. Young Toddy Mac doing Batman. So people who got their hands on it were like, "Oh, this is before Spider-Man."
Right.
But the idea, the Spawn cape,
yeah,
is Batman. It's there. Like those pieces are absolutely there, and it is pretty crazy. Cool. So there you go. So Batman and the Outsiders, Alan Davis, great stuff there as well. I'm trying to think if there's any other Alan Davis stuff I love. Every time I get to see him draw, made me happy. That's cool. Then I got to show you this. You ready?
Do it.
Shout it out when you're ready. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
look at that big boy.
Oh, Wade Wilson.
It is a big, beefy action figure who is just perfect.
He's huge. What's he like?
So,
like against, what's
I've got Rogue here.
Okay, sure.
Change Rogue's pose, put them next to each other. So you can see. It is, unfortunately, it's a deluxe figure, so like the price is slightly more. I guess they're trying to justify that by saying it's a bigger piece. So be it. I've wanted this figure since 2017. Whenever he was in the movie first, the first Deadpool movie, I wanted this figure so badly. And I will say, if you wanted like a modern Colossus to go with your stuff that isn't movie, he kind of fits in the comic book realm too. It's really, really, really great. He's fun to play with, fun to pose. Comes with 2 sets of hands, open and closed fists, 2 faces, one mean and one plain. But boy, oh boy, is it ever cool having this. And it makes me kind of wish for the rest of the X team in this kind of suit.
Yeah.
So the Hugh Jackman, although we're all excited about the yellow one, I still would love an X2 Hugh Jackman Wolverine, Marvel Legend. And maybe, I don't know, Cyclops it's kind of weird because James Marsden was wearing platforms always as Cyclops.
Yeah.
But I could definitely stand for a Wolverine to go with this guy. Totally. But anyway. Awesome. Nice.
Just...
again, 7 years waiting for that.
It feels like you could knock someone out with that. It's like,
yeah. Just to comment, like there's the Sabertooth figure that they gave us last year, and he's fun, but now he's like too small. Within 2 issues of Sabertooth being in the X-Men comics, right? 212 and then 213, he bulks with just between the 2 artists.
Yeah,
I think he just goes on that direction. He's just juicing. I mean, why not? But this figure is on like, I think, a Captain America body of that time period, and it's just not big enough. He's got to be one bigger.
Not so big, but like big. Well, yeah.
This one is perfect for this Sabertooth. Probably too big for the one we just saw, but I mean, this is a great figure. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, it's good.
Right? So good. Man, I love action figures. I'm so lucky.
Nice.
All right. What else do you want to talk about? Mountain Music Festival?
Mountain Music Festival is coming up faster than we think. It's going to be here.
We definitely can. We can talk about the Mountain Music Festival.
Well, we got another show coming up.
We do?
We do.
November 16th in Mississauga, Ontario, I will be at MCX, better known as the Mississauga Comic Expo in the west end of the Greater Toronto area. I'm very much looking forward to that. It would be nice to, again, this has been a very social 2-3 months where each of these events we get to hang out with people that I know at least I enjoy being around a great deal. So Mississauga should be a blast. I know that Ricky will be there. Ricky Lima will be there again. I know that Jason Lowe will be there, I believe. I think it's his only. Did you say it's his only North American event this year, or North American comics event this year?
What?
I know he's done a couple in stores, but maybe not like cons.
Canadian? Is it only Canadian? Maybe.
Maybe.
I thought he did New York. It doesn't. Anyway, I'll have to say. Yeah.
I know Scott Brian Woods will be there again, which will be awesome to see him. So many other creators. It's just always great for us, great to hang out with people who make really cool comics and are fun and nice guys to be around. But also for those of you who are interested in getting your hands on some of our products, you can find me there that day on, I believe it's a Saturday. It's a Saturday. Yeah, you're right. It's a Saturday, November 16th.
Yeah.
It's like in a week and a half, dude.
I know.
All right, that's awesome. Other than that, I think my dog just came in. Hey, buddy. How are you? Oh, sweetheart. Other than that, keep your eyes out for some new comics from us coming out. I'm not sure what event they'll first be at.
Yeah.
Because we don't have anything on the calendar for the new year. But maybe it'll be something where we do an in-store. Maybe we'll do an online sale. Who knows? I guess you and I should talk about it.
We should, yeah.
I won't just throw it up in the air in front of an audience. You know? Who would do such a thing?
Comics.
All right. That sounds good. So, given that that's the case, that brings us to the end. Correct? Of another episode of Previously in X-Men. Thank you to my good buddy, writer of Group of Seven and Peregrines, Chris Sanagan. Thank you, Chris. Glad you could join us tonight, even though you're a little under the weather, and I'm hoping you get better soon. You can find out more about our comics and upcoming appearances at groupofsevencomics.ca. Of course, follow us on social media at Group of Seven Comics and at Previously in X-Men, right? Or at Chris Sanagan and or Jason Lapidus Art. All the places.
All the places.
Please click like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and tell us your take on X-Men comics in the comments below. It really does, of course, help pump us up in front of other new viewers, and that helps support the channel to one day. This can be our full-time. I mean, that's the dream, right? Is all we want to do is read X-Men comics in front of people for the rest of our lives. If we get, 10,000 subscribers, I can hire an accent coach, a dialect coach, and the quality of this show will go up indefinitely. I mean, not indefinitely, pardon me.
You'll get Channing Tatum's accent coach. Deadpool.
From Gambit? Is what you're talking about?
That's right. The Minions? That's right.
Sounds good. Please add a comment, do all those little things that social media asks you to do. It really does help boost the algorithm for us. So that would be really great. Other than that, stay XE, friends, right? That's the way to see it. Everyone out there, stay nice and cool and stay XE. And thanks, Bob. Have a good night. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time. Looking forward to next week.
Have a great one.
My dog. Bye, everyone.